Hey, everybody. Welcome to another exciting episode of Clinic Gym Radio. I'm your host, Dr. Josh Satterlee, and it's my pleasure today to be joined yet again by Dr. Brian Strump. Brian, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Brian always brings it. He's a quiet dude, but definitely has the knowledge, runs a huge clinic gym hybrid facility in Charlotte called Live Active Charlotte. And you have certainly dealt with the blows of 2020 very well. But one thing I love about you is you run a tight ship. You have a very good business based on great business principles. So I was hoping we could dive into a couple things today. How's that sound?
Yeah, awesome.
Awesome. Now, I will do a, what do they call that? A blatant self-promotion here, Brian. As you know, I recently launched Clinic Gym Connect, which is a marketing CRM communication platform. And marketing is just kind of a piece of that. If you just communicate well, I think you would agree communication is the basis of marketing and client retention and everything. Would you agree with that? I guess I should ask you.
Yes.
Yeah. And so I'd love to go over some strategies that you've used in the past. How many years you had Live Active?
We started the gym in the office together in 2010. So just almost 11 years.
Wow. Congratulations, man.
Thank you.
And it's been totally smooth sailing, no problems, no difficulties whatsoever. Now you're actually part of some other groups that help other gym owners run better businesses, right?
Yeah. That's my two-brain business.
Yeah. And you guys are seeing if people had some good business principles set in place, they're able to deal with the storm of 2020, huh?
Yeah, I think there are some things that people could have done right and well, and they're seeing there are some gyms that are better. Like we'll be better off of this from a revenue, profit, how we run, efficiency. I think a lot of gyms can use coronavirus as their excuse to make some of these changes that they wanted to do for a while, and they've done them now in the name of the pandemic. It makes it easier.
It certainly identified the holes in the system, right?
Yeah.
If you had any. Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about maybe today. I was hoping we could talk about what you've learned about getting new leads for the gym or for your practice. And then I want to talk about once people enter your system, maybe talk about what the first year is like, how often you communicate with them, what you get them used to. And what's interesting about your facility is you had members for, I think the average length nationally of a fitness membership is like 7 months or 9 months. What's the average length of your membership?
Yeah, it goes up and down between 37 to 39 months, just a bit, depending on like how many new people we have.
So over 3 years.
Yeah. And some people, and the longest people have been with us since we opened, since May of 2010. It's probably I guess 11 or 12 people still there.
That's incredible, man. That's incredible.
Yeah, it's nuts.
Yeah, I mean, they've made over 120 monthly membership payments to you. Right?
Definitely wild.
Yeah, I mean, that's almost a mortgage payment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, since you see all these businesses and you've run your own, on the front end, when people are going out there looking for new people to add to their gym. So if you're talking to somebody who's maybe they're just starting their gym or they recently increased their square footage, so they want to go out aggressively to get new leads or new people in. What strategies have you seen over the years that work real well?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of just getting the people in, not necessarily communicating with them yet, but just kind of like ways to get them in there is what you're talking about, right?
Yeah, let's go. It's everything that happens before the first time they step into the gym, for that.
Yeah. So, we do have some Facebook ads out there for like cold audience traffic. We invest a little bit of money in those and some just like branding ads. The one thing that we did do which I think is great but difficult to do, or difficult to decide on, at least for me, was we invested in having like a professional videographer come in, and hopefully you'll notice and you'll see some of our videos are like looking much better than they were in the prior 9 years. I never really saw the benefit of, I'm a big like numbers and how much is this going to get me from this investment.
Right.
And the problem with those videos and brand awareness is that like you don't see it right away. You know, it takes time. And
you spend $3,000 on a videographer and editing, and then you can't see a measurable difference for months, huh?
Yeah. Now that I see that, it makes sense to me. So when I talk to somebody else that questions it, it's like there's a reason why McDonald's and Ford still pay like $2 million for a Super Bowl commercial.
Right.
You know, like they don't, but they see the value of that $2 million or Budweiser, right? So, so we do. So that was an investment of like good quality stuff to have videos that show like our facility as a whole, the gym and the doctor's office, then just to be able to share so people can see it on your website and on marketing. But besides that, I think the number one way is just by talking to people and relationships. If we look at like our business as the relationship business, and the reason why people are here for 10 or 11 years is like, there's no doubt that they could get the same results cheaper elsewhere, or similar results cheaper elsewhere. Like we would be kidding ourselves if that's not the case.
Right.
But like the relationships that they've formed with us and how we can make them feel and how we can help them, or how they feel that we want to help them, I think is important. So, just if I already have clients, asking their friends, asking them, if you were a PT client of ours and you were telling me about you going to play golf this weekend, depending on our relationship, I would maybe making a joke about the other 4 guys that you're playing with. Or if you tell me, my buddy Tim, big that dude that always crushes the ball, I was like, oh, maybe you think Tim would do better here? Maybe we could get him a little slimmer, a little stronger, and like, I never really thought about if Tim would do that. I said, well,
I always love that response. Like, I never thought about that. It's like, how did you never think about that? Like, you tell me every time you're in here how well you're doing or how better you feel or how much better you're playing golf. Like, why wouldn't you think about that for your friends?
Yeah. So like asking for referrals, I struggled with it more in the doctor's office for sure, because I think it's just more difficult for somebody to talk about, whereas going to the gym and exercise is a lot easier topic, I think, for everybody to talk about than to explain what the chiropractor does.
Right. And you can bring somebody in to work out next to you. You typically don't bring in somebody to get treated next to you,
Exactly. Yeah. So I would say like, Josh, why don't you talk to Tim and maybe let's schedule a 2-on-1 PT session, bring you guys in, teach you a little something, and then we can put together a workout. So now it's like, I've got you, who is let's say a high-paying personal training client. You're bringing in your friend that's probably seen your benefits and your changes on golf or in your body or in your physique often, and now they're coming in. Typically, if you're paying $500 to $1,000 plus for personal training, you probably have some friends that could potentially see the value and have that same willingness to kind of do that.
Yeah. So
that's how we grow most of our personal training, is just word of mouth and referrals, asking for them, but listening to what they say, like whether it's a coworker, spouse, whatever.
Yeah. Now it's pretty rare in the world of marketing or in the world of fitness, even if that friend says, hey, you got to go to my gym. I love this place. It's done so much for me. That single event is fairly rare to be the thing that tips them over, right? Like, you have to have some supporting, whatever you want to say, some supporting information, which in your case, you said you have these professional videos done. I know you guys do a great job of telling the story of Live Active, and I've watched some of those videos. I'm very impressed. Somehow they got you to be good looking on camera. I mean, they were really well done.
Good, fantastic lighting.
Yeah. But in all seriousness, how many times do you think the average person has to be hit by your brand before they truly make that, like, before you can push them over to, hey, come in? Because Tim might hear about it from his friend golfing, and then he's going to check you out on Google. Then he's going to look at your Facebook page.
So the important thing, I'm going to answer your question, but the important thing for gyms that are listening is that our best way to get new people in is not telling you to tell Tim about it or giving you a little card that says, hey, Tim, here's a free PT session. It's like, talk to Tim. Let's book this. You guys come together, because now the odds of Tim coming increase like 100-fold than you giving him this little coupon that says come for a free session. Even if that's a free session, I'll tell you, Josh, we won't take this session out of one of yours. Bring Tim. Let's work you guys out. And we'll do like a little walk-in consultation with Tim when we're done, or we'll try to reschedule him. But to answer your question, let's say Tim does come in, but then he's like, oh, I'm so busy, Brian, I got to run. I'll talk to you soon. It was great. Then it's like, how do we follow up with that? Mm-hmm. Right. So we have him fill out the waiver, right? We get his information, and we use a CRM piece similar to what you were talking about that has text, phone, email campaigns, and we put them in there. And then I think the one thing that we do better than a lot of gyms is our follow-up and touching base with the people. Like we were talking about before, the software company that we use mentioned that they did a study of probably a few, I would guess at least 2,000 gyms. It said took the average client 6 contacts, whether it was like automated email, phone, or text, to finally come in and schedule that initial consultation, whatever it is that you do as a free session, whatever that might be.
And just to be clear for those listening, email is typically the cheapest, quote unquote, the cheapest. So, getting a MailChimp account or any email provider. But one of the reasons it's also the cheapest is it's the least effective out of those 3 you talked about, right? Yeah. I mean, nobody wants to do the phone because it takes a lot of effort, but I don't know another way to get somebody from questionable to into your gym other than the phone. You can text them and that helps, but the phone can create such a powerful early relationship and build trust. And text messaging certainly gets through to their phone a whole lot more often than that email will. So if anybody's listening thinking, I just have a MailChimp account, I'm going to put people in there. At best, that works okay. But when Brian's saying this, it's email, text, and phone call combined that really drive people in.
Yeah, because now, like in that case of Tim, let's say he came in today on Thursday the 19th. We would text him tomorrow in the middle of the day, hey, Tim, just wanted to touch base with you. Like, we probably wouldn't call right away and leave a message because he might not get back to us. We would text him right away, touch base, how you feeling?
I'm sore as hell. I'm getting more sore.
Coach whoever said that he did great. Just want to touch base. Let me know if you haven't. So we'll definitely mention the coach's name. Said they did great. It was great seeing you. Josh said he kicked your ass. Maybe maybe a little joke about it, just so they kind of know that it's not just all business. And then just leave it like, hey, if you got any questions, let us know. We'd love to see you back again. Mm-hmm. And then we have like a document that we would kind of move them through. And then maybe we would manually reach out, text or phone call during those first 5 to 10 days. Mm-hmm. And then once we get to that point, if we're having a conversation, we might keep it going before we put them into like the automatic stuff. And then we have it set up where they start off as a lead, then they become a pending lead, and then they become an inactive lead. And during those 3 stages, they'll get a number of texts or emails based on how they came in, and then somebody will get a certain prompt, say like, hey, Tim's been in our system for 30 days, so reach out with a call, and then maybe we reach out with a call, depending on if he's been responding to an email, if he's been responding to a text message, and the text messages are crafted in a way that you should feel like they're personal, and many of them are, but then some of them are automatic based on the days.
I got one from
process.
I took my wife's car to Jiffy Lube, and I got it's a text message, but it's like, Jiffy Lube 178972446 at whatever. Do not reply to this message, and then it's like, your car, it's been 3 months since your oil change. Would you like to come back in? Reply 1 for yes, 2 for no. I'm like, could you be any more of a robot? Like, could you, like, it's not hard to make this feel a little more personal. And you just took every bit of human interaction out of this. I mean, like, you wrung out the drops of human interaction.
Yeah.
And I think it's great when, like, you're saying, hey, the coach talked about you. There's some ego play there, right? Your buddy said that he whooped your butt. Now you're connecting him back to that kind of pride and the community. I mean, you're building community from day one. I think that's awesome because, for a lot of group fitness, that's one of the reasons it's so successful is if you can get people working out in a group instead of Brian, the trainer, being the guy to bring him in, there's 4 other people, 5 other people, 10 other people in that class that are working to bring them in every day as well, you know?
Yeah. And it's just, I think it's just really listening to, like, we had a guy the other day who went to Orange, like, he came in and met me, sat down, and he was like, talking about Orange theory, and then he complained about his hamstring, and I was like, well, here's how we could help you and do this. And he's like, when I went to Orange theory, I was like, did they even know or ask you about your hamstring? Because we're talking about it right now.
Yeah.
He's like, no. I was like, see, like, that's, and so it's like, I'm going to point out to them, like, how we're different and what we're doing. And then when he leaves, if somebody doesn't sign up, it's like 3 days later when we text him, we're going to mention that. So he knows it's not going to be like, oh, this is just like a random text message.
And that, not to cut you off, that brings me to why a CRM is so important. Keeping those notes early on, like Brian came in, talked about his right hamstring to the trainer coming from Orange Theory. I mean, you're talking about 3 sentences there that make those texts later seem so much more powerful. Instead of saying, hey, Brian, how are you? I can say like, hey, man, I just want to check in. How's that right hamstring ? Right. And then they're like, oh, wow, there's no way that could be automated. There's no way that's a robot. They had to really, not only are they texting me something personal, wow, he really paid attention to me when I was in there and I talked about stuff.
Yeah.
And having a system that can track those and keep that data is unbelievably powerful.
Yeah. I mean, I think back to, we've been using a system like this for the last maybe 3 years. And at first I was like, I don't feel like learning another thing of software. And I think back with the first 7 years is like, how did we even do this without any of this? Yeah. Like in the olden days, it was like 2015, somebody would come in or we'd meet them, like, okay, fill out the waiver. And it's like, you're not ready? Okay.
So
maybe we'll meet again sometime.
Dude, can you imagine? Yeah. So one of the things in our system that we allow for is that you were talking about reading that post. You can capture keywords. So you can go to an event and say like, text word stretch to this number to 702-487-8874. And you capture all the data on the people. And I think back, like, I don't know about you, but I did so many live events my first 3 years in practice, like trying to go out and meet people. And it's the same thing. Like we'd meet them. Oh yeah. Does that, we'd do some muscle work on them. All right. How's that shoulder? Oh man, it's so much better. Cool. Yeah. Well, if you need a chiropractor, let us know. And then poof, I just let them go.
We would call them like 2 days later. And that was it. I probably have, not anymore. I'm sure they're all in the trash, but I can't imagine how many pieces of paper with a name, phone number, and email I have.
Yeah, you're good. If you called them 2 days later, I would just like maybe add them to an email list. But I think about those thousands of people I met. Mm-hmm. If I would have just followed up with a decent, like a 3-step marketing process, like here's a text message checking in next time. Hey, it's Brian again with Live Active. Love to have you come down if you're interested. Are you available this week? There's your second message, and then maybe send them another video or something. My God, I think I could have been 5 times as big in, 1/4 of the time.
Yeah. And then I think about like how this stuff even works on me. Like if I said no the first time, and I said no the second time because I was busy or I was traveling or I was on the whatever. And then it's like, yeah, I'll buy your Frisbee or whatever it is that you were trying to get me to buy or purchase or what have you, because like,
yeah.
But like the next day I would have went and bought the other places Frisbee if you weren't still like following up. And then like some people, when it first started, I was like, you know what? I don't want to annoy people. And then you're like, you have to ask these people until they tell you no. And like, I hate maybe. I'd rather you tell me no, because maybe is like just dragging me along. Like, just say no. Right. Stop calling you. Fine. I don't care if you unsubscribe. That's one less person I need to worry about. And it's like, it becomes a numbers game. Yeah. And then just being respectful and all of those things, and not just kind of like spamming them with crap. But
I think that I
got over that.
I think one of the downsides in our business is like when you come from the chiropractic world and that first initial sale, let's just say it's $200 for that initial exam, or $250, right? Mm-hmm. That I think it's not as impactful because it's not a lot of money. And I talked to my friend who's a mortgage broker, and, every deal for him is going to be about 5 to 10 grand.
Yeah.
And what's interesting when you're saying, like, I'd rather have you say no, he's been incredibly successful. And he says the gig in the mortgage industry is you'll get leads from companies like, Zillow or realestate.com or something. So-and-so is looking for a mortgage, and you call them. Guess how many times they try and call them in the first day?
Oh, probably like 10 at least.
12 attempts in the first day, and then it's 8 attempts the next day and 4 the following. So 24 attempts in the first 3 days. Because he said, all you have to do is be the first person to actually get a hold of them, and you'll win them. There's no worry about like whose rates are better or what brand. Nobody cares. You're mortgage, right? Like,
It's not that much of a difference.
Yeah, and it's not like a brand name like, I prefer Rogue barbells to Eleco or whatever. Like, it's just, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But when you have that 10 grand per deal, the chance of you're willing to make a few extra phone calls. But when he told me that 24 touches in the first 3 days, I'm not talking about spread over a year, brother. First 3 days.
Oh yeah, fast.
And they're like, yeah. And he's like, I would rather have you pick up the phone and go, no, we already found somebody. He's like, great. Cause now I can cut it off at 16 or 12 and or move on to the next one. And I couldn't believe that. And he's like, but here's the kicker. On average, it takes us 9 attempts to get a hold of somebody. So they almost have to get halfway through their 24 attempts to even get a hold of that person.
Right.
To establish that phone call, and he's like, every once in a while you get them on the first ring, but a lot of times you're getting them on the 12th or 13th. I'm like,
and now that we put, you mentioned the average length that a member stays, and we used to always kind of have a vague idea, and in the last 3 years we started tracking it better. And then if you take, that number, and then you look at what the average person pays you. And now it's like, okay, now these phone calls and these text messages are worth $9,000.
Right.
Then it becomes, okay, it's not a waste of time. This ninth call, this is what the average when I get them. I know I've already done 8.
Yeah.
This call, statistics say that's when they're going to pick up.
Yeah.
Now it becomes that like $9,000 or $10,000 phone call.
Yeah.
And most people can't even get over the first one or the second one.
Yeah. I mean, if I were restarting a practice or a gym today, I mean, with the tools available like Clinic Gym Connect, but I mean, I'm pimping that because I built it, believe in it. But yeah. But I'm just saying, like, any of these opportunities where you can make phone calls, text, and email the person, I really wonder if you could build if I gave you a laptop, Brian, and the ability to call, text, and email, and you moved to a new area where you didn't know anybody, how long do you think it'd take you to build a gym to get 100 members in it?
Yeah, I think we're starting to see in the gym business, right? Just, gyms that, before, if it would have taken the average of 10 years to get here, now it's like the average of 5 years. Now in 18 months, gyms can, how much they're keeping is a whole nother story. But in terms of people walking through that door, I think obviously the internet changed it, and then these new CRM and email changed it from phone and now text, and just this entire platform, similar to what you talk about that you have. I think gyms in 75 to 80% less time can scale their business if they're set up to do something, just based on how much quicker you could get to people now and follow up with people now, and how much quicker they respond to a text message than an email, and how much easier it is to see an email than accidentally delete. See a text message and open a text message and accidentally delete an email, or never see it. I'll get. We're going through some stuff at home right now and trying to get a loan, and I'll get 9 emails from this guy, and then I'll go to my spam, and I was like, how the hell did this email get in here? So like the text it doesn't happen with the text message, or with a phone call too.
Right. Yeah. And I don't want everybody to think like text is it's all you need. Like, I think email still has a place. It's like, now we have video on demand. There's still a place for movie theaters, although they might not be open now, but there's still, even after Netflix, there's still a place for cable news, or when TV came out, there's still a place for radio. Like, all these things work. They just have a better context to why we use them and when we use them. Like I wouldn't say, go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, like we can people will put up with a lot of maybe not so valuable emails before they'll cancel or unsubscribe. That they won't put up with a lot of useless text messages pinging them all day long because they open them, because they read them all, right? And so they'll cancel you very quickly if you're not careful. But learning to find that balance and sending valuable information or ways is great. And plus, I think like emails work great for when you make hotel reservations. I know you travel a lot. You make a hotel reservation, they send you a confirmation number. I mean, I just keep it in the email inbox. Like I look for the Hilton, Scottsdale or wherever we're going. I don't think that texting is necessarily a fantastic way to do that. Although it could be if you text the day of or the day before you're checking in, I think that's a great way to do it. So it does take some brain power to know when is the best time to use a certain media, but there's also a good time for snail mail. I mean, like it's nice to receive a birthday card. A birthday text is cool too, but a birthday card is even more impactful, I think.
Yeah, I think I was going to say, I was making some notes for as we talk. I think when the difference, like you mentioned, the hotel, yeah, because like there's no urgency there. Like you just booked with a hotel. I don't think a hotel texting me confirming my reservation is needed, or Airbnb. Yeah. I don't need that text message. But when somebody in a lead contacts me and I want to get in touch with them as soon as possible because they're shopping for something, that's why I think phone and text are the quickest way. Because if I called you and you were looking for a gym and you were at work and somebody texts you in between patients in a minute and a half, you could be like, yeah, I'm looking for a gym. I'd love to come in here. If I call you, maybe the next day, you might hear the message that night. The next day or 2 days later, you'll make a note to call me back. I've already lost you. And that's where I think like the text and email, like the text plays the greatest role in the speed of which I can get to that potential client. Once you're a client of ours, we'll still text, but it doesn't to confirm an appointment or if they need to cancel an appointment, something where like, I don't want them emailing a coach 2 hours before that they need to cancel. You might not even see that. But a text message, they'll much more likely get. But to schedule something out in 2 weeks from now, I think email is certainly a great use of that because it doesn't need to have like speed as a part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Booking those flights on Southwest Airlines for 4 months from now, we're not really concerned. Yeah. Are you looking to get into the tennis crowd locally? Then I would highly recommend you check out RacketFit.com. Now, RacketFit is designed by the same crew that brought us TPI, Titleist Performance Institute, but it's designed around the game of tennis. Now, if you know anything about tennis, you know that it is a fantastic pool of patients because typically tennis players can pay cash and they can come in for performance care. It's everything that you want in a patient. They show up to appointments, they're easy to deal with, and they've got money. So highly recommend you check out RacketFit.com so that you can serve those tennis players better. It's all about the assessment of tennis and the moves that the players have to make, and I can't recommend it enough. So check out RacketFit.com. Now, you mentioned something there, like once somebody becomes a member, I think sometimes we make the mistake, and I made this mistake too. You work so much on the front end to get them in. Once they get in and make a payment to you, you kind of drop the ball or don't communicate as much with them. I know you, obviously, if your average client's sticking around for 37 to 39 months, I mean, that's incredible, Brian. Congratulations. You set up a great business. But B, what communication methods do you think or touch points are important once they have that ongoing relationship with you?
Yeah, I think, for starters, there's that saying, I don't love it, but was it like, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So I think like that comes, like these touch points need to feel and be legitimate. That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah.
Like they need to be real and not just like, and that's why like, when I go to the dentist or when I get a birthday card from the financial guy, that's like, or a Christmas card from the financial guy, it's all like stamped. There's nothing on it. Like that. You gave that to like 40,000 cars. So that doesn't, that's not going to be like, oh my God, these guys are so nice. And So once they become a patient, then, in our software, right, we're moving them over into a new client. So the contact becomes a little bit less frequent, but we're seeing them consistently. We have a couple different set contacts after the first 2 weeks, after the first month. Maybe there's a phone call in there checking in, and there's a text to make sure that they got X, Y, and Z. That's part of the gym membership. Make sure that they've been added to our Facebook page. So a couple different texts, some emails in there that don't have to be, that aren't as pressing in terms of speed because they've already joined us. Cards, like you said, if we have a patient that just had shoulder surgery or back surgery or wisdom, whatever it is, something like that, maybe we'll send them a fruit basket or a edible arrangement or whatever. We have, staff that has a credit card that they know that they can spend up to X amount of dollars based on this. Like, hey, Brian, somebody has a baby, so they know, okay, we're going to order a onesie. Somebody had a dog pass away, so we got them like a dog that they had for 18 years and huge dog people. So somebody found them like a little wooden carved dog Christmas ornament that had the dog's names. It's just little thoughtful things. It's not just everybody that has a dog die, we give them the same thing, right?
But a lot of them, so the messaging is personal. So you're doing as much automated messaging as you can up to a point where it's no longer appropriate to be automated. It needs to be personalized. I always love that. There's a statement I heard at a conference, and guys you can't automate a hug. But what you can do is automate everything else so you have time to give a hug. And I'm like, that's a good perspective. Your appointment reminder at your dentist, I'm sure you're okay to say hey, Brian, we have you down for 10 a.m. on Tuesday. Does that still work?
Yeah.
That can be as automated as possible, right? Mm-hmm. But then when you walk in, now the front desk person isn't sending out appointment reminders, and now she or he can stand up and be like, oh, Mr. Strump, it's so great to see you. Thanks for coming in. Let me shake your hand. Let me get you a water, it allows for that extra time.
Our automated emails is more education-wise. Our text messages are more confirmation of appointments. If they sign up for a class or something like that, it is the automations are in terms of education and fitness related. So we'll send cards, and we'll stalk their their Facebook pages. We remember what we talked about the Bright Spots Friday, right? So somebody posted that. We had a girl that finally got a contract to write a comic book for Marvel. She's been talking about this for the last 2 years. So it's hey, wow. So we stalked her page. I started talking about it. I was we need to send her a card. And in our card, we have 4 different kinds of cards, whether it's somebody dies, somebody's born, PRs, whatever. And then we fill them with
possible outcomes, death. Birth, what else? What's between those?
Yeah, it's death, birth, good stuff. I like the three. I like the 3 things. So we we buy big jugs of confetti. People love it. Selfishly, it's a good free organic content. When they take it, they take a picture of it and they share it and say, "Oh, my gym's so great." We'll have people that say, I'm 43. Nobody sent me a birthday card except for your gym. Thank you so much. PR cards. If they told the coach, hey, I got a promotion, whatever we could everybody knows as a group to listen to what's happening, to what's going on. And so we do send a lot of cards. But also,
and you're actively finding reasons to do that.
Yeah. And we always send birthday cards,
right,
at the beginning of the month. But it's but they're all totally handwritten.
Yeah.
With the girl that does them, does an amazing job. She might write a little something about them or related to the gym.
One cool feature that we threw in our software, kind of because of this, is, one of the things we found is after, say, your new patient visit, if you come in, Brian, you're talking about your low back and you happen to mention that one of the reasons it's your low back is hurting is because you just adopted a new dog and you've been walking her every day, whatever. And her name is, let's say, Mitzi, right? So one of the things we want to be able to do is check in with that person. I'm sure at your practice, you like to make that first visit phone call afterwards. And, hey, Brian, I just want to check in how you're doing. But that's kind of cumbersome, especially if you've got a lot going on and it's now 6:00 at night. So what we have is we call it scheduled texting or delayed texting. I can write the text message after your 10 a.m. visit, right? But I can schedule it to go out anytime. So maybe I say, hey, I want it to go out tonight at 7. It's going to say, hey, Brian, want to check in how you're feeling. Also, give Mitzi a scratch for me, right? So you have that kind of personal feel. But, one of our members brought up the fact that, hey, that's great. But they said, I work with a ton of runners and triathletes. So I'll ask them like, hey, what are you training for now? And they go, oh, I'm training for, whatever, Ironman Madison or something. Cool. When is that? Oh, it's November 23rd. Cool. And they'll go into their app and they'll write a text like, hey, Brian, I want to see how the race went. And they'll delay it for months to go out at like 4 p.m. on race day. And I just think what the impact that has when some chiropractor you talked to a month ago happens to go, like, you get a text from him the day of your race in the afternoon going, hey, how was the race? Like, I'd love to hear about it. Just the impact that has about our relationship. Like, oh my God, you remember.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to break their heart and say, I didn't really remember. I scheduled it to remember.
But there's technology for a reason, right? Yeah. And like that saying that you said from that guy,
right,
is and I'll make little notes. I know I've got a patient engine member that tomorrow has shoulder surgery. So on my calendar, I wrote down his shoulder surgery. So we'll send him a text tomorrow. I'll just touch base with him. How's it going? He was doing personal training and coming to the office, and he's been putting it off for a while. So I might send him a text like tomorrow evening. How was it? How did everything go? And then we'll make a little task in our stuff. You could set a task for that person to just be like, hey, have we heard back from Jeff? If not, let's reach out to him on the phone call. So then now we know like that would be the next step beyond stuff that you can't automatize. You can't have things that are automatic for every single possible thing.
Right. Yeah. And it should be. I mean, like 1-800-Flowers or whatever it is now. There's a website. They'll let you automatically send on recurring dates. So like anniversaries, your sister's birthday or something, you can send flowers a week before your sister's birthday. You can do all that because it happens every month, but there's no way it could know when you need to send flowers to make up some ground you lost on a recently with your wife. Like it can't. But if you don't forget your sister's birthday, a few years of that, she's going to feel pretty good.
Right.
Yeah.
If
you don't miss every anniversary, she's going to feel pretty good.
Yeah. You're like, oh, these flowers showed up. We were away for a week for our anniversary. What do we shop flowers for? And then we, the other thing in terms of that we've been trying to do for a while, but haven't been very successful until the last 2 years, was doing these goal reviews for people and just like sitting down, meeting with them, talking with them for 15 or 20 minutes, ask them what they've succeeded in the last 3 months, ask them what they're struggling with in the last 3 months. And it's, just two things. I think one, it's free. We don't charge them for that 15 or 20 minutes. Not that people wouldn't pay for it, but now it's.
But it's just part of your membership.
Yeah.
Right?
So it's part of that. Yeah. So it does two things, right? They tell us that they're struggling, and it's our opportunity to explain, okay, maybe our nutrition program could help. Maybe personal training could help. Let's see about how frequently you're coming. Like, I think we just need to work on a schedule. Like, we don't have anything else to schedule you. You're just not showing up, And then on the other hand, if they don't purchase something new, that's fine. They know that we care about them. We took time out of our day to listen to them. And maybe now might not be the time for them to pay for that nutrition or to add personal training, but it's still kind of building that value in that relationship, which was like the very first thing that we talked about in terms of, okay, they care about me. They want to see me do well. They're contacting us. But we also, will run a report. So we do when the goal reviews, we do those quarterly as a gym, January, April, July, and October. I found it way too difficult to follow each person individually every 90 days to do it, and we sucked at it. So in 2019, I was like, there has to be something easier. I was paying quarterly taxes, and I was like, this is so easy. Why don't we just do it on these days? Hold on. And
you didn't say that this is so easy paying quarterly taxes, right? As you write a big fat check, you're like, this hurts enough. But
planning it,
it's memorable.
Was and And I found that we got a lot more people to do the goal reviews when the gym as a whole on those months.
Interesting.
Talking about them. We could create content
again, that
for
community
month.
effect, huh?
Yeah. We could create content for that month. Coaches could talk about it. We could post about it. We could share stories about somebody's goal review. Versus if it's like Josh has a goal review, and next week's this person, next week, and like every single month we're doing these goal reviews. We're just getting not exhausted, but we were missing a lot, and people wouldn't know about it because it's like, okay, we reached out to Josh 3 times and he didn't schedule. All right, well then maybe next month or next month or next month. So now it's like every month we're kind of talking about it, posting about the importance. And if somebody misses it and they want to do it on a different month, that's fine. But we use those 4 months to kind of go through those goal reviews. So I think asking people, the other thing that it does is some people that might be thinking about stopping, when you're talking to them and maybe helping solve some of their problems, maybe they didn't buy PT or nutrition, but you gave them a tip, or now they're feeling like, okay, I've been listened to. I'm going to try to do what Josh told me, and I'm going to start coming more consistently. Of course, I can't quit a place I'm not showing up to and blame it on them. Like, I need to at least show up consistently.
Yeah.
So I think goal reviews are very underutilized, probably similar in the doctor's office in terms of like, that follow-up, check-up, those kind of things in the doctor's office, in terms of letting the patient know that, like, we have a plan for you, or the gym member, like, we have a plan for you. What are your goals? Okay, I help your shoulder. If I don't know that the shoulder feels better, but they really want to be able to deadlift again because we've never talked about it, and then they leave and go someplace else because they didn't think that I was the shoulder doctor. I was only the shoulder doctor. I think you'd miss an opportunity of keeping a client longer. The other thing that we do that I was afraid of for a while, and I know a lot of gyms are as well, much more in the gym and the doctor's office, is running those reports. And when gym members aren't in for 2 weeks, and we text them, we text them once, the following week we call, and the following week we text, we call, then we email. I don't know what it is. And we follow up with them. Hey, where are you? I haven't seen you in 2 weeks. Hey, where are you? And I was afraid to do that the first couple of years because I didn't want them to be like, hey, oh yeah, thanks for reminding me, I need to cancel. But that almost never happens.
Right.
People have been gone for like 4 months. They're like, oh, my daughter had this, I was traveling, my grandpa died, my dog was sick. I'm so glad you guys kept checking in. It meant so much to me.
And the other thing is, like, one thing I know that Brian's talking about is when they cancel, if somebody calls in to cancel, it's almost impossible to get them back at that point. However, if you can preempt that by a month or 2 months or 3 months and say, like, Brian, you're just not coming in. What can we do? Can we throw a personal training session at you? Or you want to bring in a friend or anything that just gets them re-engaged? I think it's if you re-engage them and they end up coming back, I think Tom Plummer told me it extends their membership by about 3 months. And if you do it again in a year and a half, it extends that by 3 months. And you just keep pushing it out there rather than just waiting for them to call and cancel that one day. He calls it the rule of 8. If they have, I think it's the rule of 8. If in the last 6 weeks they have less than 8 workouts, call them. So he's found that.
Okay, yeah. So we, I think that's a good way to look at it as well. And then and they might not respond to the text, or sometimes says, oh, I was just in an accident, I'll be back, my back's sore, whatever. And they just, one more week, maybe they weren't coming in. But then you brought up a good point.
But I'll tell you, I was telling you how our system allows you to text all the new patients after. Internal marketing is so interesting because, like, I just had one of our members tell us, he said, I send that new patient text to every one of my new patients, and I rarely get a response. Like, I'll say, hey, I just want to check in how you're feeling. Mm-hmm. How's your dog Mitzi? He's like, and I rarely get a response that night. Or if I do, it's like, I'm fine. But he said the next time they come in, they're gushing like, I've never had a doctor follow up. I can't believe you remembered. It was so nice that you mentioned Mitzi. And it increases that personal feeling a lot. Maybe it's too early for them, early in the relationship for them to share that via text, but it registers. It's deposits into that long-term, relationship savings account. And if you do more of that, then when you go, I don't know if you guys ask for like Google reviews, but when you go to ask for a Google review after 3 or 4 of these great interactions, those things are paragraphs long. They're not like, Live Active Charlotte's great. Love it. Brian's nice. Like those are crappy reviews. It's like I've never had a fitness facility that actually kept me engaged, and all my friends are here. And, I was thinking about leaving, and then they reached out and they provided great, like, it's going on and on of this 5-star review. And that's what really will drive people to your business when you get enough of those reviews.
Yeah.
The 2 and 3 word reviews are just like, or
just 5 stars or something.
Yeah. It's like, those are nice, but they're not changing.
The reviews is one thing that we do have that's like an automatic thing. Maybe on like the 75th day, there's an email. Maybe on the 80th day, there's a text that says, "Oh, I just want to make sure you saw the email. Here's a link to click on the review to leave us a, if you've had a great experience, this link, and we'd love to have you leave a review." The other thing, so that's one thing that we do automate, because again, like, and sometimes when we do the emails, maybe we send a text, depending on how important it is. We might send a text on like day 50. An email on day 50, and then a text on like day 55 to follow up to that email. If we wanted them to click, if we wanted them to click a link, if it was educational, maybe not, but we wanted them to click a link to leave a review or something. But the next step that I think is important that I think a lot of people forget is, I think your current people, right, are the most important. Most people think it's, in my opinion, most people think it's the leads, right? But if the leads are usually cold traffic, my members are currently paying me, and they know the warmest leads. So like cultivating those relationships is primary. And then in addition, almost maybe even more important than the new leads, is everybody that's canceled, because they are already familiar with my product. They've already paid us. We've already pre-qualified them in terms of like a dollars amount of what they're doing. That's not to say that everybody that's canceled, I even want to come back in, but following up and having that new cycle of after they cancel, at the 1 week mark, it's just checking up. "Oh, we missed you. We'd love to see you again soon." Maybe at the 2 week mark, maybe we're sending them an email or a text with 14 at home workouts without any equipment, and then we're continuing to see them. Not, let's say when they're a new lead, they're getting a contact 2 or 3 times a week with like phone, email, or whatever. But then when they're cancellation, maybe just once a week, because it's not as in their face. Yeah. But we're still kind of following up with them that way as well.
I think since we're recording this just before Thanksgiving, and I think if we think back to college around Christmas time, if you walk into a bar in your hometown because you're home from college, if you go, "Who in here is it most likely for me to go home with tonight and hook up?" Obviously, somebody you're currently dating, aka your current customers, that's almost guaranteed. But then, do you think you're more likely to hook up with your old girlfriend or somebody you've never met? And I would say everybody would go, your old girlfriend, even though she drove you nuts, that's that member that canceled. You're more likely to have success with her than somebody totally new that you're meeting for the first time that night. And so, I hate to use I hope nobody's offended by this analogy, but I just think it makes sense when you look at it in the dating 100%. World. Like, if you're not currently dating somebody, finding somebody you dated in the past, even if it didn't go well, is more likely to work out than somebody brand new. And it's the same in business.
Yeah. So I think that's another, that was the other one that we didn't pay attention to. And really every quarter, every 6 months, we'll go through our email list from the last 6 or 8 months. We'll cross that, like when it's not automatic and we have the list, we'll cross out the people that like we don't want to see again. Yeah. Right. And then we call the rest of them. We divvy up the list between 2 or 3 people, and we'll call them and ask them if they want to, come again for a goal review session. Just want to check in, see how you're doing. Have you still been working out? And maybe we see them on Facebook, or we know them on Facebook, so you see them going to Planet Fitness, or we see them traveling, so we know that they're out and alive and doing stuff. It's like, hey, haven't seen you in a while. We'd love to get you back in. What are you working on now? We're doing goal reviews this month. We'd love to schedule a time for you. Just come in. You don't have to be a member. Just kind of come in, sit and talk to me. There's something that we can help you out with. Maybe ask them a question about their nutrition if they were an old nutrition client or something like that. So yeah, super. And if you make 20 phone calls and you get one, right? And 20 phone calls, if 19 of them don't answer, it's not like you're gonna make this phone call and have 20-minute conversation with them about their family and everything like that. You need to know when to like cut the cord on what's happening there and just like touch base with them. I can make those phone calls quick, and now you're getting paid a lot of money for that one phone call.
Yeah. By the way, Brian, I don't know if you guys do this. We've seen about a 4 times increase of people picking up the phone. If we send them a text message first going, hey, Brian, I'm making some phone calls. Are you available if I call you in the next 5 minutes? And just sending that kind of open door. And a lot of people either respond, sure, or call me right now, or I'm not available in 5 minutes, but in 2 hours I am. And then when you call in 2 hours, they're very likely to pick up. We've seen we can connect with about 4 times as many people in an hour if we send those. Now you got to kind of stage it correctly. You don't want to send one at 5:01 and call that person at 5:59.
Yeah.
But
I would 100% answer my phone more if a number that I didn't know texts me and said, hey, Brian, do you got a couple minutes? I want to talk to you about the gym or this mortgage or your electric, whatever it is.
Yeah.
100% I would call more, because if I don't recognize the phone, I'm not picking it up.
Yeah. And I think most people are like that. And even now, like my phone will say like potential spam, but you can kind of break through Siri or whoever it is. If you say like, hey, Josh, this is Brian from Live Active Charlotte. Then when you do call, instead of it saying potential spam, it'll say maybe Brian from Live Active Charlotte. It's like,
I do get some of those, and I do appreciate my phone figuring that out for me. Because then
although it didn't seem to work worth a damn during political season. I don't know.
No. But that's anyways, what, back to what you were talking. I read something somewhere. Somebody was talking about all the speed. We were talking about leads and contacting leads, and the speed of which is important, because if somebody's looking for a gym and they're cold traffic, sometimes we'll text them back and they're like, oh, which one are you?
Yeah.
I clicked on every single gym that I saw. So like, while we might not be a best fit because they didn't know how much you were or how far away we were, they just kind of click.
Yeah.
Calling them fast is important, and just continuing to call them, because there was, I don't know, it was a spam company or something like that talked about, if you got to figure, these spam companies probably make a lot of money, or even not even the spam companies, all these fraud companies about like these emails. Like I'll get these emails all the time from PayPal or the prince of some country I never heard of. You're like, who answers these? And you're like, well, it really only takes, they send out 1 million emails. You only need 3.
Dude,
and if they all send you $10,000 to get the 10 million that I might get from the dead prince, you make $30,000 in 10 seconds of sending an email. So it's like, makes you think like, okay, it's you want to say it's a numbers game, like it sounds bad, but I think like at the end of the day, like they're all numbers games.
Yeah.
And odds.
And the ones that, I mean, I live in Las Vegas, baby.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
They have figured out number games galore here, and they work. And if you were to say like, oh, come on, how could you possibly get millions of people to come into that town and dump money into a game that they know they're not going to win? I would tell you, like, let me walk you down the strip and see how big these hotels are and how flashy the lights are. And I know that like in 2018, Southwest Airlines alone brought in 22 million people to my city. 22 million people on one airline were coming in here for a game they knew they couldn't win. But why did they do that? Because those hotels reached out to them. Those hotels texted them and said, hey, should you be a member of our players club, or why don't you come down and we'll give you $100 free in slot credit. Well, that's no different than you giving them a free PT session. Of course they're going to fall in love with it, know?
And it's funny, we were talking about looking at a beach vacation rental. We went to this beach on it's called Oak Island, and we rented a space through a management company. And I was like, oh, this is pretty easy, seamless. And they sent us, they sent me some emails. And then on our third day there, it's like, are you loving your stay in Oak Island? You should come. You should buy a vacation over here. Here, click this link to find homes for sale. And they were also they were a property management company that also do sales. So I was like, click. I was like, at least you want to go? There's a house for sale. It's like $179,000 right here. And it's like, what? I was like, well, the property management company that I rented from sent me an email 3 days later while we were here. And I'm sure they see like, what's the length of your stay? Okay. After they're there for 56 hours, let's hit them with an email that says, hey, we've got some properties for sale right near you. And we've got an open house tomorrow. Do you want to come see it? So it's just like all of those things. I can't imagine how many more sales that they're going to make from that versus me leaving. And then when I'm done, to say, hey, Brian, you want to drive back 4 hours to go look at a house for sale when you didn't even have any desire to even look at houses for sale to begin with?
Yeah.
Much less likely that I'm going to do something like that.
I got to tell you a perfect upsell story because I know you'll love it. We were staying in Lake Tahoe for my birthday a couple weeks ago, staying at this hotel, and we were staying Thursday, Friday, Saturday night. And Sunday, everybody's coming out, right? And the Sunday night room rate was like half of what we paid for Saturday night. Maybe it was less than half. Because as they know, everybody leaves Sunday night, right? So 10 a.m., I get a text on Sunday, hey, we noticed you haven't checked out. If you'd be interested in extending your stay by one more night, we'll waive the cost of the room, just pay the resort fee and the tax on the room. So, it's going to be $50 instead of like $110, right? And it's dumping snow outside. I'm like, the place is a zoo because everybody's trying to get out of town and that the roads are going to be backed up. And I'm sitting there going, I wonder how many people are doing this. I'm thinking that in my mind. So we're walking out. We got to get to the airport. And I remember it doesn't snow every night, but it just happened to snow that night. Walking by the bell desk, and the guy said, oh, yeah, man, it's crazy. We've had 179 re-ups. And he's telling his coworker, and I'm like thinking, yeah, because they just sent a free text message everybody or spent a penny on it. 179 people were already at that point were like, yeah, I'll stay another night. And they're going to spend money in the casino. They're going to spend money in the restaurants. They're going to do all that stuff. And it's just like, man, if you just communicate often enough, that 10 a.m. text, there's probably somebody going, oh, it's going to be annoying to our clients. It's going to be annoying to them. Not to the 179 people. It was a welcome message to them going,
and then you don't care.
Awesome.
And then you didn't care. It wasn't like it was taking up my time. It wasn't like you said you got to sit down for this 4-hour thing. And even if it was that, you still just would say no.
And for 11 seconds, I was like, maybe we should stay.
If you didn't have a flight.
Yeah. Right? And I was like thinking, I wonder how much it would be to change to tomorrow's flight.
Yeah. I'll just pick up the difference. I'll change my flight.
Could grandpa watch the kids another day? There were some calculations going on in my mind.
Yeah. So. And that's kind of what, and then if you multiply that by, this is the big picture. I was like 179 times one weekend. So if you or the office or the gym did that, every Sunday night.
Yeah.
That's 6,000, it's 10,000 more room stays.
Right. If you could have a way on Sunday night to look at all your open personal training sessions and set up a campaign that automatically offered those to past clients, I can't imagine you wouldn't get 3 people a week doing that, right? And then could you resell one of those into membership? Come on, you're printing money at that point.
Which is why that 2-on-1 thing that I say is even if I say, Josh, come in with your friend Tim, we're not going to charge you it's not going to be one of your PT sessions.
Yeah.
So I'm going to pay the coach what their money is. So it's going to cost us that, but that's like the marketing cost of a really, really warm lead to get to be paying for a very, very potentially high dollar client. Right. You're
making money, right? I mean, there's no way it couldn't work. Yeah. Awesome. Well, Brian, I certainly appreciate your time. I know you're busy and you got a bunch of stuff going on. We've already been on for, I think we're 45 minutes or an hour in here. So I do appreciate it. If people want to reach out to you and talk more, where can they find you?
I'll give my email because I don't know any of my other contacts. My email is Dr. Brian, Brian, at Live Active CLT, LIVE, Actives, ACTIVE, CLT.com. Now, and that would be my work email. Would be the best place.
Brian at Live Active CLT.
So Dr. Doctor. So Dr. Brian at liveactiveclt.com would be the best place to.
Awesome. And Brian's also a moderator of the Clinic Gym Hybrid discussion group. So you throw up a question there. He's probably going to see it. He might comment on it, but you can tag him too if you want him to comment on it specifically. And if you've dug any of the marketing stuff we talked about, I would love to have you check out Clinic Gym Connect. It's our new software program so that you can build up a great practice with a gym that's doing recurring revenue on the side. And you can check that out at clinicgymconnect.com. And if you have any questions about that, go ahead and reach out to me. Brian, I certainly appreciate you being on the podcast today, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, on behalf of Dr. Brian Strump out there in beautiful Charlotte, This is Dr. Josh Satterlee saying, go out there, maximize your license, and live the life you dream of. Thanks, Brian.
Thanks, Josh. Bye.
Thanks so much for checking out these videos. I hope they're useful. We'll cover things like rehab, exercise, business model, progressions, layout, everything else that helps you build a clinic. So if you're interested, you can click here, there, here, or anywhere to get more videos just like this. Thanks a lot for watching, and we'll see you soon.